Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Verdi L. Coleman III, your favorite doctoral student, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an announcement here and there. This next video and the video that follows behind it is going to be a two-part video, and it's basically going to be a horror edition. So, basically, since the spirit of Halloween, I really want to get into my own little scary story about the whole what's something that scared you. And one of the biggest things is going to be one of my actual stories from college. This is a real story, and you basically have to check it out. Like, if you want to be able to get part two early, you know share this video, subscribe, get at least 3 friends to subscribe to it, and I'll be able to put the video out even faster. More details will be in the video as it comes. So let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. What's going on, my YouTube fans? Let's get right into it. Stalkers. Time until they come. But guess what? Stalkers are a unique type of character that we deal with on this earth. Whether it be a female stalker or a male stalker, or even just, little supernatural stalkers that we have. In honor of Halloween, I basically wanted to tell my own story, my own horror story, if you will. And it's ironic because I have this team that I work with, and they have been talking about a particular stalker that has been in my life as of recently. But I've told them about an actual stalker who very much made me scared to look over my shoulder for the first time in any time I've ever lived. And this was during college, back in my days at UWA. So as I prepare to tell this story, I ask of you to laugh, to join along with me, be in suspense, pretty much whatever, because this story here is literally the scariest thing I've ever been through. So, here we go. So basically, it was around January of 2014. At the time, I was still living with only one roommate on campus at the time. His name is Dr. Watson. That's his code name that we're going to give him, because I'm not going to put all his personal business out there. But he's one of the ghosts, right? He's one of the ghosts. He was the one that basically helped me hold it down throughout this entire semester when it came to the whole stalker situation, dealing with my ex, you name it. And so he and I were roommates, and he was doing his scholarly thing, basically just out here, doing what it do, getting into the textbooks. And it was a rare incident where we had an opportunity to go to the caf together and have lunch, because our schedules were always so conflicting. He would go to the caf like an hour before I would, or I would go in an hour before he would. And so this was a rare time that we got a chance to eat together. So we ended up sitting around talking and be like, man, what you did today, man? Be like, oh, I just went and worked, dealt with the little kids. And he was basically dealing with classes and work study at the time. So what ended up happening was this girl was walking across the caf, and I looked at her, and she seemed like she seemed real beautiful. Like she looked like she was beautiful. She had on some color. She had a lot of color to her, a lot of colorful outfit on. And I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at the booty too. I was looking at the booty. And before I actually got back into that part of the conversation, I had overheard somebody else talking about, that they moved out because their roommate was stalker crazy. Like, they was like psycho crazy. And I'm over here tuned to the conversation. Me and my roommate, we're like, wonder what's going on over there. So we listening, and we never put the connection together, at least not initially. So coming back to our main conversation and talking about the girl, she was still standing in the one little spot that I saw her in the beginning. And so he was like, hey, you gonna go and talk to her? I bet you won't. And I was like, dude, what's my name? Sharing that witty banter with each other, only like a good Sherlock and Dr. Watson would. I get up, fresh as like I am right now, and I go over there and I talk to her. And so I introduced myself, and I found that she not only looks good, but she smells good too. And like her hands were soft to the touch, and she had a nice little voice on her too. Like she seemed, on appearance, she seemed like the perfect woman. And you would think most of us guys would pay more attention to, details of that nature and more. You would think we pay more attention to women when we go and talk to them. However, we don't. We're controlled by the other head that we are not going to speak of on here. So, red flags began showing up. But me being who I was back then, I hadn't really quite understood women the way that I should have understood them. I hadn't got to know them like I should have. The red flags were going off, but I was ignoring them. I'm talking about just ignoring them, just way out of left field. And I wished I would have paid more attention in this situation. This is one of those moments I am literally going to tell my mother, dang, I wished I would have paid attention. And ironically enough, it wasn't anything about, life lessons as far as money management or responsibility or things of that nature. It all happened with a woman. So you're about to find out why. So I go back to my table and I tell him, be like, hey, she seemed pretty cool, man. Be like, she look like your type too, man. And I was like, my type? He was like, yeah, you got a type, bro. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't really have a type. Not physically, anyway. And so he was like, bro, you got a type. I was like, all right. So I'm thinking that he's thinking physical type, because at that point in time, I didn't discriminate when it came to, sizes of women. I would have talked to any woman at any size at any point. But little did I know, he actually meant something else. And I'm starting to see it now. Like I have a type, but it's not for what you think it is. Like the stalker thing, no, that's not it. It's something else. So later in the day, we're getting like warnings and stuff that snow may cancel school, and I kind of was hoping that it would. And sure enough, there was the one time I prayed about that, and it literally was like, hey, snow front coming in, no school, no work, nothing on tomorrow or the next day. So basically that was going to lead into a long weekend. And so you know what people do in the college parties, well, in a college campus, they go party. They have little house parties, little dorm parties, whatever you call it. Basically the night was ours. So we chilling, just sitting around, just talking noise. And the next morning I woke up, I decided to go to the cafe by myself because my homeboy, my roommate, he went to go work out. And I should have known the red flags even then. She was sitting by herself in the cafe. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to pick up where I left off yesterday. And I did. I sat there and I talked with her and everything. She seemed cool. Like, we were doing the exchange back and forth. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I was great with papers back in the day. Still am. Still number one in my campus. And she said that she had needed help with some English. I was like, who am I to turn down a person who crying for help in English? I want to help all my peeps pass. All right. So after that, I got up, I took her tray up, and we was going to get ready to go back to her room so we could actually work on the paper. But I had to stop first and get some stuff out of my room in order to be able to, help her out and whatnot. Strangest thing happened. She was like all kind of aggressive with the whole touching and whatnot. I was like, yo, I didn't know what to make of it back then. I was still stupid, so to speak. I was ignorant. And she would touch me a certain way that wasn't normal for most girls. Most girls, they just be like, they hold a hand and they would, let's hold it like this or something. Or if they hugged you like from the side, or they poke out a little bit just to keep from that closeness. Like she did some creepy stuff one time. Like she reached up from behind me and was like this. I was like, whoa. Whew. Yeah, nothing crazy about that at all. Now that I look at it, it wasn't actually just crazy. That was just her way of self-expression, especially to someone that she liked. But that wasn't the part that really had me scared. It was the stuff that when I got to her room, that was the scary part. Like, seriously, scary. So I would show up to her room and notice that she didn't have a roommate, which was perfect in a normal universe. I'm thinking to myself, I was like, I haven't been to a room where a girl ain't had a roommate in a long time. Because most girls that have a roommate, or a roommate will be away for a while, and then they come back and be like, oh man, I'm bumming, man. But this girl had no roommate. And that conversation that I overheard with, me and my roommate, we was talking about, there was a girl that had moved out because her roommate was a psycho crazy girl. And again, I never thought, maybe that this might be it. I never thought of it. So she talks about, how she doesn't have a roommate. And I asked her, I was like, what happened? Like, did you never get a roommate? And she was like, oh no, she moved out. She decided to get an apartment. And I was like, okay. A little odd to move in the middle of January, especially when school getting kicked in and you know that you're going to be on campus. And obviously she was a freshman. Transfer students and freshmen tend to live in this particular dorm. So had me a little nervous. So I didn't think much else of it though. So I just sat and I kind of got myself relaxed, but I still couldn't get relaxed because it was cold in the room. Now it's not all that little spooky cold, but it was just naturally cold in the room. And I'm like, hey, could you turn the heat on a little bit? And she was like, I really don't like using the heat because it gets a little too hot in here. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just zip up my jacket then. So I zipped up the jacket that was on top of my hoodie and I pulled my hood over. But I'm looking around and I'm like, this girl ain't got no laptop, no book, no pen, no paper. Immediately I should have recognized this. I should have just, but I didn't think. I was literally having one of those moments when I should have been having one of those moments. So later on throughout the day, I'm using my laptop at this point to basically show her, the ins and outs of different types of paper writing and exactly how to tackle her subject that we're going to tackle. And she gets a little frisky. And I mean like real frisky. She's like all up on me and whatnot, laying down on me and stuff. And I'm still kind of slow at the time. I hadn't really dealt with women in that way of fashion. So she goes and says something. To this day, I will not repeat it on here, but anybody that knows me knows how funny this was. She says that my kitty is cold. And I am wondering what in the world she meant by that. And so, for the sake of this story, we're going to say that she herself was cold and that she needed to be warmed up. And I was like, okay, so I thought cuddling was going to be the thing, so after we got done with a little bit of the work and whatnot, we sat and we cuddled. And somehow, some way, she basically tricked me into promising that I would stay the night with her later on. And I was like, how did I get swindled into this? Don't know. Don't really know. And so later that night, as we were going to get something to eat from the caf, I stopped by my room And I was looking at the boys. I was like, yo, help me. I'm like whispering and just like, help me, nigga. I couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it more quietly yet loudly at the same time. And she goes in and she's talking with the fellas all nice and whatnot, but they all giving me that look like, nigga, you really are a dead man. And I'm like, yo, it's going to get even worse for me because I got to stay the night with this girl. I ain't going to try to do nothing to her. No. So the ironic part was later that night, I did go and keep my promise like I said I would because I didn't want to break a promise to the girl. I mean, even though she did trick me into agreeing that I would stay with her, you know, she seemed sweet enough about it at the time. So I go up and I'm literally kind of like, the air is different now. Like, what the heck is going on? So as I come in, she's in the bathroom fussing at somebody on the phone. I'm talking about like mad crazy, just yelling, screaming, all sorts of cursing and threats. I'm like, is this the same girl that I met earlier? And so she comes out and I'm laying on one bed already. She just comes out and she's mad and like she just all of a sudden just strips off her clothes. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And she gets in the bed and she's basically trying to get me to actually penetrate her. And I'm like, no, I can't touch you that way. I don't know what you want. Like that? I'm literally, mind you guys, I'm literally slow. So the whole night, she was basically mad. She went over to the other bed and went to sleep. I text my homeboy and I was like, yo, please get me out of here. And he's like, I can't. I'm tied down myself. I'm like, yo, this is messed up. So the whole night I'm basically just paranoid. Don't know what to think for real. I'm like, dang, what if this girl like basically just gets up and decides to hack me to pieces with whatever hidden serrated weapons that she might have. But I wake up, nothing's happened. It's like 6 a.m. in the morning now. I'm literally like, what's about to happen? She's in the bathroom, fussing at somebody, yelling at somebody on the phone. I call my roommate and I asked him, I said, Roomie, is the door unlocked? He said, yes. I said, I'm on my way. So grab everything that I had and I was quietly walking towards the door. She was still yelling. I opened the door just a slight bit just so I could make sure I get out. The bathroom was right next to this thing. If I happened to get caught when she bust that door open, it was going to be my butt, man. Like literally just, oh! So I managed to slip one leg out. And by the time I slipped that other leg out, her bathroom door opened. This door, the front door shut. I was gone. Moving like the Flash because I had on like a little red hoodie. I was moving like the Flash, getting up out of there. And so at this point, I'm slipping and sliding on ice. I'm thinking to myself like I'm gonna bust my tail, but it's okay because I'm gonna make it back to base. And I made it back to base. I went and took a shower. Even though I didn't do anything with her, I still felt dirty on the inside. I felt dirty on the outside because I realized that I've gotten with a girl that's weird even for my taste. And so I go to the calf thinking, oh, I'm rid of her. No more, right? Tell me why this girl shows up at the calf, long trench coat with the little jeans and everything on, had a fedora on, and she was like, hello, my beloved. And I'm like, when did I make you my girlfriend? And so she basically followed me around while I was getting my breakfast, and I'm telling my homeboy Nico, like, yo, I got that's his code name, Nico. I was telling him, I was like, yo, I got me a stalker. And like he's one of the guys that's like, yo, you don't got no stalker, man. Don't nobody want you like that for real. I'm like, Nico, trust me. So me and him sitting down at the table, she comes up and she introduces herself to him just as willy-nilly as she always does. And she goes on to say, this my little boo right here. He read me William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet type poetry. Mind y'all, America, I have never read this girl a piece of poetry in my life, let alone wrote one for her. That ain't how that worked. So he goes to roast me in the group chat along with everybody else in the group chat that's in there. It's nothing but us guys, but I'm the one getting roasted. And I'm trying to tell these guys like, y'all help me. I gotta get rid of this mother. So the whole day, I'm basically just terrified. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get rid of this girl? And true enough, I run into an old friend. She basically gives me the advice that I should tell her that I'm working things out with my ex. True enough, at the time of 2014, I was trying to work things out with an ex of mine, and we seemed to be heading in the right direction. So I was like, hey, cool. So I was gonna go over and verify that we really were working things out. So I stepped across the street to her dorm. And I asked her, I said, hey, I want to know, are we still trying to work things out so that we can actually get back together someday? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, how am I doing with that? She said, you're doing pretty good so far. You're still a bit of a dork, though. I was like, all right, I'll take that. So I left and I went and crafted this plan. I kid you not. This was like the best plan ever. And I would go to the cafe and I would literally find myself in a unique situation afterwards. So I show up at the cafe and she's there waiting on me, just as punctual as usual. She knows my schedule. And so I told her, I was like, I got some good news and bad news. And she was like, okay, what's the bad news? And so I was like, hey, my ex called and it was unexpected, but me and her are about to try to work some things out. And so she was like, oh, what's the good news then? I was like, that's kind of the good news too. And so she was like, you don't want me anymore? And I'm like, I don't. I miss her. I really want to be with her. And, she and I, we have a relationship that's unique to any other relationship. And so she backs up and she was like, okay. And she walks off. And I thought that was way too easy. And like this white boy that's standing behind me, I looked at him and I was like, yo, did you see that? He was like, yeah. I was like, did that actually work? He was like, yeah. So me and him, we looking at each other in silent communication. And next thing you know, I play Young Dro's FDB. And we over there just getting it. And I go back, I tell the fellas that this was a successful disconnection from this girl. Like she took it easy. She didn't really complain, say anything. But that was the calm before the storm. This girl here. So we're all chilling. We're getting ready to go to this little kickback that's over in Twin Oaks. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, it's been a pretty wild couple days, but I'm out of the woods now. My phone rings. It was her. I'm like, y'all, what do I do? They was like, pretend you're asleep. So, of course, me being who I am, hello. Yeah, that's supposed to be X for a reason. You don't get back with your ass. That's X for a reason. And then she hung up the phone. She hung up the phone. Next thing you know, a loud knock at the door. All of us ran back in my room towards the bathroom. None of us thought to lock the doggone door. But it did make me wonder, what what would have happened? Like, like would she have come in? Was she gonna kill us all? Like, was she just gonna target me and leave everybody else out of it? All these things were running through my mind. So they was like, hey, yo, man, you need to go to the door. That's your chick you need to deal with. And I'm like, y'all just gonna throw me under the bus, huh? So I finally go to the door. I'm creeping to the door. The door has never looked so far away from me as it did then. But I started walking to the door, and I noticed it definitely was unlocked. And so after that, I walk up to the door. I creep up to the door, and I slowly turned it. Sorry, guys. If you really want to know what's going to happen after that, you got to stay tuned for part two. Now, the conditions of me releasing part two early, if you're watching this video and you are not a subscriber, I need you to subscribe and share this with 3 of your friends. Get them to subscribe it and, share it. Just share it on your social media. Now, if you are already a subscriber, go ahead and share it with 3 of your friends. And the goal here is to try to reach, I'm trying to reach as many as I can get. If I can get up to at least 100 subscribers, I'll release part two within a week. But in the meantime, I will still be releasing videos, but this one in particular is going to be a knockout banger. This one's going to be the crux of the coup de grace. All right. So it's been another Silvertongue production. You guys take care. If you guys got questions, leave them in the comments below. Follow me on social media. You already know it's going to be in the description below. And so just spread the word, spread this video, because those of you that went to UWA are going to want to know. So, peace.